Hi, all. Welcome to another episode of Got Something For Ya. If you are joining live, welcome. Sorry we started a little bit late, but we do have our live chat open, which means, as always, Ollie, Phil, and myself would love to hear your thoughts on the episode as well. So can't wait to chat about it with all of you. Phil, I don't know why you keep ending up on the side there, but we talked.
I don't know. I'm okay. I'll drift to the middle at some point.
It's true. It always ends up happening at some point. Hey, Ian, in the chat, good to see you as always. Love your profile picture, by the way. So,
Right.
I mean, this is interesting because I got back, Phil. I didn't get to talk to you about Atlanta, so I can't wait to fill you in on everything that happened there. That was a lot of fun. But we started the episode this week on like a weird note because that tribal council, and Phil, we didn't talk to you about it last week, but Chrissy's elimination was a really interesting tribal council to behold, to watch. So I like seeing the aftermath of all this.
Yeah, I did not get to talk to you all last week, and it does feel weird. I mean, last week was it feels like a turning point tribal. And I guess we can confirm that it was a turning point tribal considering what happened in this episode. But yeah, like that was pretty tense. The battle between David and Chrissy, even the pre-tribal battle between David and Kyle, like it all just felt very, very crunchy and very, very tense. And I'll be honest, for someone like me, like I got into these reality shows in the trashiest of ways, and in a lot of cases, like I like mess, I like conflict. It's funny. I feel like in scripted projects, we know that like plot gets moved forward through conflict, but when it happens in reality shows, it's like, oh, it just feels like empty drama. I feel like this was true conflict that is pushing the season forward. And again, we will talk about it a lot, I'm sure, today. But I think that what the result of the last tribal informed this tribal quite a bit.
Oh God, yeah.
Anything else, Ollie? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the blowback from this tribal. I mean, before we get to that, because I do see Ian's comment. The first thing that was kind of discussed was Shaheen, and I thought this was a really funny scene to start off with because you've got Shaheen going, Chrissy tried to take a swing and she couldn't admit, like she was this big threat. Me, I was like, it was just really delusional, and I loved it. Because of like we still to this day do not know why Chrissy voted for Shaheen. Still don't know. So to have Shaheen kind of have this moment of like, look, I'm good. It's all good. I'm fine. It was really interesting to have that be shown. I don't know if either of you kind of clocked that, but it was kind of because if you even hear the music, it's kind of this kind of jolly sense to it of she was going for me. Why me? And it's like, oh, Shaheen. Like that was the energy that it felt like the editors were trying to give. I don't know if either of you two felt that.
You know what I felt about Shaheen? And I came so during the last two episodes, I feel like I have my final three. Like I feel like I've figured out the final three. So I'm gonna pitch it here and we're gonna see if it works out. But I think the final three are going to be Star, Shaheen, and Kyle. I don't know how we're gonna get there, but I just feel it in my bones.
Okay.
I don't think that's like a crazy call, actually. I was very surprised when I hear that. I go, "Oh my gosh! Like this is you're putting a lot on the line here, Matthew."
I know,
but after hearing it, it's actually quite a conservative choice. I can see it.
Yeah, Amy thinks it's interesting, also. So thank you, Amy. We'll see.
Yeah,
it would be interesting. But yeah, Ollie, tell us about Camilla here.
So this is where David comes up to Camilla, and I can't even remember what David's saying, but literally Camilla just literally went, You're not a good liar. You're a horrible liar, and just basically goes off on one. And it's funny in the sense of you rarely see this sort of bluntness in like New Era Survivor. So to see Camilla literally kind of just be like, David, I know you were lying to my face. Like, let's call a spade a spade. Let's like not BS each other here. I thought was hilarious because it kind of also then led into this confessional.
Okay.
literally kind of just calling him an idiot again. Like it's clear these two are not going to be working together, which is absolutely fine. But yeah, you can tell that she has kind of just washed her hands with David in that sense. Phil, what do you think?
I mean, I just think Camilla is like so fun and spicy.
Yeah.
Like I just love hearing her talk about most things, whether it be strategy or something that she does not love. And I feel like this episode, like you really got to see the sort of like, at least in the beginning here. I think she also disappeared for a lot of the episode, but in the beginning here, you like really got to get a little bit of that Camilla spice, which again I'm always thankful for. So I was really into this.
That's why I drafted her.
How are you doing in the draft, by the way, Ollie?
I'm the only person that still has my full draft.
But are you first?
No, I'm 8 points behind Bruce. So this is the thing. Anything can happen. I'm quite content being second. I'm having a lovely time. If I get first, lovely. If I don't, that's fine. Oh. But yeah, just seeing my draft. I think also Josh is very much kicking himself because he really wanted Camilla. Me and him had discussed this. He didn't pick Camilla, and then I kind of nabbed her, and he's kind of haunting it because instead he then picked Stephanie.
Fun. Well, Camilla is a great addition to the cast. I'm having a very fun time watching her. I feel like for me, like the entertainment value, a lot of it, I look to Camilla and I look to Mary for. So great, so excellent. And we didn't talk about it last week, but that shot of her in her hoodie, I want that as like my phone background or something like that. All right, then we have our morning chats, and everyone's still like, all right, next it's Camilla, right?
Yes.
Next it's Camilla.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
Oh, so you go, Phil.
No, sorry. I was just gonna say what I find so funny about the scene is the David trying to convince the Alliance that he is taking a step back. He's like, look, guys, like I'm taking a step back this time. I called the shots last time. Like, I'm gonna leave this one up to you. I'm chilling this time. And the second that Mary says Camilla, he's like, yeah. I mean, but if I had to put my somewhere, it would be Camilla. Obviously, like how crazy is this? I just think that's so funny. It was enjoyable because in the second that he said that, at first I was like, okay, David, we're learning here. You know, we realized after last tribal, it's not you should not be like front running every single vote. But he couldn't help himself.
I mean, I feel like that it's just very David at this point. It's what I've come to expect, and I actually generally don't mean that in a bad way. I expect David to have a voice and a presence because we've really seen it this season. And I think what was interesting is you could, as a viewer watching, before I'd even seen what was coming, I could clock Kyle and Shaheen's hesitations a mile away. Like you could see that both of them were very much like on it. Because then this is where we see kind of Kyle start to plant the seeds to Shaheen to try and make it. The thing that not rubbed me the wrong way, but I thought was a bit was when Kyle was saying like he needs to try and make it personal. Because I'm me being me, I don't. Gameplay's gameplay. I don't think he intended it probably the way he meant it. But this is kind of where you do see Shaheen and Kyle kind of be like, do you know what? We've got to distance ourselves from this six. And it's we've seen the strong six fracturing anyway. But I think this is where kind of these two have gone, it's done. It's fractured. Let me just hammer in the cracks some more.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around these conversations because I have to say, throughout this episode, let me know if I'm alone here. I felt really bad for David. I felt so bad because he just couldn't figure out how to make something work. And then, yeah. But going, like when seeing Kyle was so good. Kyle was so good at his game here and just making sure that. Because I think what the conflict was that David was figuring out that Kyle and Camilla had more of a closer bond than he thought. So he's trying to convince everyone of this, that he sees this, but I feel like Kyle was always one step ahead in terms of making sure that his relationships with others were tight, so that they saw David as paranoid in a way that really, really cut David's game. So I felt terrible because I can see what David was trying to do. I don't think it was the right. I think he could have come at it from a better way, but that's it. What he was doing could have worked with a different cast. I don't know, but it just this whole episode, I was like, oh dang, like I see what he's trying to do here.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like I actually agree with you. I think David's reads were spot on. Like it's one of those things. Like fans can say what they want. David kind of was on the money. It is just his execution. I think how he executed trying to get people to notice it rubbed people the wrong way. I'm trying to remember the next scene. Yeah, because this is where they're back on the beach having this conversation. And even how David was speaking to Kyle in this moment. And again, they're however many days in, they're tired, they're hungry. I understand you won't be able to say things correctly, but obviously as a viewer sitting on the couch, I could see this and I'd even sit there and be like, if David was speaking, like if this is how David was presenting it, it would be very clear that David is almost trying to force that we know that you're still wanting to work with Camilla. If you continue it, it's going to be a problem, is in essence how David executed it, like game-wise. So I think that's why it didn't work out for David, sadly. But yeah, I will admit, I did feel bad for David.
Wow, that's growth.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly respect that David, was trying throughout the whole entire episode. Like, I feel like there was no point where he sort of just like rolled over and died. Which I think that a lot of times, people don't even feel like they have enough wiggle room in the game to like make something happen. And a lot of times I do think that people will like silently secede, and he didn't do that. And I have a lot of respect for that. But I do think that, like, yeah, and I don't want to beat a dead horse. I'm sure he gets it by now. I'm sure he has heard it from the internet, podcasts, and articles altogether. But I just think that, look, like, I don't feel that bad, if I'm being completely honest. Okay. And it comes from the fact that, like, it's seeing someone get their comeuppance. You know what I mean? When you see the big bully go up and snatch $10, everyone's lunch money, and and he sort of made everyone feel like crap because he took their lunch money. But then one day he doesn't have any lunch money, and no one's willing to split any money with him, and then he's the only one not eating lunch. You're not looking at him going, "Oh my God, how terrible!" You're looking at him going, "This guy took our lunch money every single day since he's been here." Like,
are we at tribal council right now? Because that analogy was perfect.
All right, it's all right, So, but it's just like it just feels like
49.
It just feels like we've seen this guy sort of control things from the start of the game. Why do we feel bad right now? Because he has taken himself out of these people's good graces. It's not even something that like it was not even something that happened like outside of his control. I actually feel like he was his own demise in so many different senses.
Yeah.
And like we'll get to it, but the fact that we're sitting here still talking about rollover from last episode, and like him not being able to correct the way that he's talking to Kyle from last episode.
That's a good point.
Like, thank God Chrissy's out of the game, because Chrissy is someone else that he was talking terribly to. The way that he talked to both of those people rubbed Camilla the wrong way. And in this episode, we haven't even gotten to like the worst of it all, which is the way that he addresses Joe. And I just think that, like, there's good gameplay, there's bad gameplay, but you don't have to feel bad for everyone that has bad gameplay, And I think this is what we saw. I think that we saw not good gameplay. My mom's told me 1,000,001 times, you can be right and you can keep it to yourself, or you can be right and run down the street. But when you're right and you run down the street, everyone who doesn't want to believe you is going to think that you're an idiot, that you're a jerk, and part of that happened here.
Oh, so what I'm hearing is down with chocolate milk.
What I'm hearing is chocolate milk is just fine. I think David could have played this a lot better.
without a doubt, delivery wise,
Of course, yeah.
absolutely. But I feel like, okay, I do feel like there was an opportunity for not, yes, David went about this in an interesting way, but there was an opportunity here to flip the trajectory of the game.
Sure. And he didn't take it.
Yeah.
And so that's on him. You
Well,
know,
he tried to take it, but just didn't grab, like,
you
didn't.
know,
Yeah.
sure. I'm sure he tried, you know. But I just think that, yeah, I think that, like, you know, when it comes to a game that is ultimately about like sending people, you know, getting further than people in a game, voting people off, but like the core, the nucleus of this game that makes this unique is that you know, not just another like, oh, vote you off game, is that the people that you're voting off, you have to send them off while you are in good graces with them, at least so much so that like they would want to vote for you at the end, you know? I mean,
Which surprises me that no one was like, maybe I should keep David along because he's definitely not going to get votes from the jury. But like Eva is like, even like, you know what? I'm in a rough position because I trust David for my game, but I just don't know if he's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hold on to him much longer. And we also remember that Eva has this advantage that, Phil, I do have to ask you this because you weren't here. They had name tags at the reward that they were on where Eva found the thing in the chips. Did you feel any certain way about that?
I did. Yeah. I feel like you have to, you know, and I think that I've seen some discourse online that's been like, oh, well, like the note said, like, this is, you know, a reward for winning the game, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, then they should have handed her that. They should have
Yes.
brought her into a confessional, handed it to her. I do think that, like, it's a little bit, it makes you raise an eyebrow, you know? I don't think that I'm ready to sit here and say, you know, make, you know, large, you know, overarching statements about Survivor production or about, you know, even this season. But I do think that, like, in a game where, you know, you're running a reality show. At the end of the day, like, you want to have like the most credibility to turn around and be like, hey, this is as true to form as it comes across on screen. And I think that like little things like this just like don't bode well for that argument, you know?
I agree. I agree, but we do finally get to see this whole thing play out. And by the way, I don't blame Eva. Like it would be really weird to blame Eva for this. But she ends up being able to sneak out of camp. But when I saw this shot, I literally screamed at my television, "He's behind you!" Like it looked just like a horror movie. Like like it was like Killer in the Night was so this terrified me. I don't know why. I love scary stuff, but this just got me.
It's funny because it's kind of just in the shadows going, who is it? Who is it? Who is it?
Yeah. There's that question of who is actually following Eva right now, and it turns out to be Shaheen. And Shaheen's like, I noticed this. Excuse me. Where did we go? There we are.
That's not bad.
Thank you. We noticed that Shaheen is like, okay, this is odd, but he remembers like Eva went on a reward. Chances are there was some sort of thing that she found. That's good putting together the puzzle pieces. So from there, it was just we got probably my favorite moment of the episode. I can't stop thinking about this.
So funny.
The way in which he wakes up Joe.
But then also it was Joe's description. Like calling Shaheen a wombat. Wombats are cute. I love a wombat. But yeah, just this whole interaction and even like just the confessional was just so funny. Because you can just imagine like Shaheen is like over the top of him going,
well, I know we have a poll about this later, but this I do wonder. I think we can talk about this question since it's not involved in the poll, but was this the right thing to do at this point to draw attention? Like a part of me is like, yeah, you kind of want Joe to see it happen in the moment because like you can tell him in the morning and he might not believe it. But I don't know. Yeah, Ian, we'll talk about that later.
I think it's Amy's point. Like I wonder why he told Joe. Like she's like Amy's got the right point. Like Joe is the one person who wouldn't be alarmed by it. Like had he told Kyle, had he told Camilla, then it would have been something. But the fact he told Joe, like I think he kind of knew in the sense of he could tell Joe because it was about Eva, nothing was going to like go out there. So yeah, I still feel like was Joe the best option because I feel like regardless he would have. I said it last round. So someone was going to spot her, and I felt like regardless Joe was going to find out. So one of the few times my predictions were correct. I feel very proud of myself.
I have a thought about why Joe, and I just wonder if it was an attempt to lightly throw some shade onto Eva or lightly try to get Joe to at least question loyalty, at least question, like not try to say we got to target Eva now, but just a light suggestion of this is happening. So from that perspective, I get it, but that their relationship is a tough one to crack. So,
Yeah. Oh gotcha.
Oh god, yeah. I agree. So then we see what this whole thing was about. I actually really like this. I thought this was fun, but also kind of low stake because she's not risking her own vote, and here's the thing. I don't like when players risk their votes. So it's kind of funny to me that all of a sudden I'm like, she should have been, there should have been an option to lose her vote. But they set the standard in the season that when you go on these things, that you will lose your vote at tribal council. So to have it just be, all right, well, you gained an advantage, like to have you go to this and then it just be like, well, you just might lose something you never had in the first place is very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I think that this is, a like less game swinging way to have survivors lose something, but not have it be something as important as their vote.
That's fair.
In terms of it being like, oh, you have this advantage. It's not that powerful, but it's an advantage. You can buff it up, or you can possibly lose it in your pursuit to buff it up. Like there is something really fun about that. It's literally like I feel like it's the like the central point of risk and reward. You have this reward, you're allowed to risk it to get something even a larger reward, or you can be happy with what you have.
Ooh.
Where I think that it's like what it really reminded me of, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is like exactly how the idols worked last season, right? Where Sam and then it's like you find something and then you're able to just take that, or you put that advantage like in a whole it was like the box in the box in the box. And it was like every single time that you did an extra thing, it got more powerful, but at that risked your ability to like have the advantage in the first place.
And to have your vote.
But I was gonna say, I do think that like the vote was tied in there as well.
Yeah.
Because I think it was like you don't have your vote until you like get something,
Yes.
But all this to say, it reminded me a little bit of that. But I was like, I don't think that we've ever seen something exactly like this before.
That's a great point because I feel like at the same time, I'm okay with this. If this is going to be the standard type of thing moving forward, where it's not your vote that you're losing, but maybe you do earn an advantage and you're trying to see if you can do another challenge to improve it or lose both of those things. I like that. And I would be okay with that moving forward. It was just funny to me. Maybe they were just testing it, with this and with what they did last year a little bit.
Yeah, to be fair, I think with what you've said now, Phil, I'm on board with it more. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like the gamer in me feels like an extra vote is more powerful than a safety without power. I don't know. That's just me because I feel
it depends on where you are in the game. And I think when we talk about the polls at the end, I want to see what the viewers have to say because I know this is a poll. But I was thinking about this too. It really depends on where I'm personally at in the game and how to flip the majority into my group.
Yeah, but because I think like not going to next round anyway, but just when you look at the next round, the premise or what they were trying to make us believe was that there was this 4-4. That extra vote is a lot more powerful than the safety without power because the extra vote can give you that majority, whereas the safety without power, they use it. You're safe, that's great, but you're letting your allies go down. So it's one of those. I feel like the safety without power has a lot more chances of having negatives come with it as opposed to an extra vote. Does That's just me. I prefer to have an extra vote, but that is just me.
I feel like the safety without power is guaranteed safety. Like it's guaranteed that you are going to be safe. I feel like the extra vote helps your allies more. I feel like, but I do feel like safety without power does help the individual more because I would personally want safety without power because it's like if things get crazy, you can play that down, and it's essentially the same thing as an idol. You just don't have any say in the vote. You're safe no matter what. But I do think that like when you're trying to set something up with your allies, yes, to like truly better your position. I don't necessarily know if it's like the best, mechanic, but I do think that if you're just trying to get another day in the game, like it absolutely beats out an extra vote. You don't need people on your side to find value in a safety without power. For an extra vote, you need like infrastructure,
Correct me if I'm wrong. The safety without power, you have to use it on yourself, or can you use it for someone else?
Now, I think that is honestly, that is like a game altering sort of like move because I think that we have never, I'll tell you this, I don't think that we have ever seen someone use a safety
Use it
without
on
power
someone else.
on someone else. We've only seen someone use it on themselves. And, not to call it, this, that, or the next thing, but I think that it's usually nothing crazy that happens, except for the one time that everyone got like pissed at Jeremy Collins. But
that was
very, very weird. Yeah, that's also burned in my mind. But I do feel like that's why we look at it as being a slightly worse advantage because I feel like the first time that we saw it, like it somehow backfired, which was really weird.
When can the safety without power be played last? Like, is it like the idol where you can?
I want to say it's like final six because I feel like advantages have always kind of been like final six. Idols have always been like final five.
That's funny because that's going to play into my decision at the end for the poll. But Amy says it saves you or someone once, but then the next vote you're still on the bottom again. Amy, I agree with this because like if you're taking yourself out of tribal council, you're not voting, and then a member from your own alliance gets voted out because you feel at risk, so that means your alliance is at risk, so that means one of them goes home, then you're just on the bottom the next time. So I don't know, but we'll figure it out. It depends on where you are in the tribe. But Eva decides, okay, she's going to risk it once, and she ends up getting the safety without power. And then they ask her if she wants to upgrade that to an idol, which I'll just spoil it now. I'm like, why do that if it's like the same thing almost? I could understand if the safety without power could only be used at the next tribal council only. I could understand the risk. But if it's just like only until final six and the idol's good till final five, I don't know. But she gets the safety without power. She does she get the extra vote also?
No, just the safety without power.
Got it. She just upgraded it. Okay.
Yeah.
But she ends up telling her alliance the next day, and Joe's like, see, I knew it. I could trust her. And I was like, you know what? That's, good on you. Good on both of you. They really have proven that they are a good, solid pair. Amy says the idol is, I'd rather have safety with power. So yeah, I guess that's sort of what the idol is in a way.
Yeah, that's literally what it is. Can't argue with it. My brain's forgotten what's next. I'm not gonna lie.
Your brain is.
I've forgotten what's after this.
Oh. Well, basically, it's more David after this. So it's more David. And this is a conversation. This is the scene. Phil, want to take it?
I mean, look, I think that this is the most, I would say probably the most memorable part of this episode. So, I'm sure most people remember it pretty clearly, but yeah, this is where David accuses Joe of going back on his word. And Joe very adamantly is against this claim, completely detests it, says he is not capable of going back on his word, as if he is not human like the rest of us. And yeah, this was like a major turning point in how Joe looks at David, looks at the entire alliance as a whole. And I think that like this was the start of David's like very, very quick downfall.
Yeah.
And actually, that's not true. The last episode was the start. This was the point of no return.
Yeah, I mean, do I think Joe I don't think Joe necessarily went back on it. Well, I do think he did a little bit. But I think, again, the delivery, the execution, that's where it went wrong for David, because he kind of was just pointing out everyone else's, well, this is what you did, this is what you did. And it's like, if that was me, I'd turn around and be like, cool, thank you, David. Remind me again. DAVID? Yep, perfect. Gonna make sure I write that on the parchment. Like, yeah, it was just one of those where I was like, you could have worded it so much better. But that's me saying it from the couch.
I think Joe really nailed it on the head when he said David was trying to manipulate what happened last episode and make me feel guilty for something that I shouldn't feel guilty about. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what's going on. I mean, just wrong. It was the wrong way to get Joe. By doing that, it was the incorrect way. Those video games where you are tasked with like someone like a character an NPC says a line and you have to respond back to it, and there's 3 options that are pretty much the same thing but just say something a little bit differently. David chose the wrong option here.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's funny.
Thank you. So I think that unfortunate. I don't think David, he really didn't anticipate how Joe would take this, because Joe does not let this go. The idea that he was told that he went behind his word, and there's a poll about that. So we won't, we'll save that to the end about, do we really think that Joe went back on his word? But we'll see, especially what the viewers say. But that's you're right, Phil. I agree. I think this was sort of like David crossing the line in a sense. It's just really, I guess you're right, Phil. Like, you can't really feel bad for him because like it's just kind of what he chose to do and how he chose to do it. But I think when I saw the potential in what he was trying to do for the game, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah. And good. Please, Matthew.
No, sorry, Phil. You had something to say.
No. Please.
Okay, I love this scene. I love this scene so much. I love it so much. Also because my sister's a swim coach, and I grew up as a swimmer. And the way that Mitch described how to do breaststroke, this needs to be played at all swim classes. I've never heard someone describe it any better. And my sister, she wrote a book teaching kids how to swim. It's on Amazon right now. So make sure you go check it out. I'll find the title. But I want to send her this clip because it made me so happy.
Yeah, this was a really nice moment. I think, again, looking at what happens later on in the episode, then I look at it now and I'm like, this is a very interesting scene. So I'm wondering why they put it in there. But it was obviously a really nice moment of Mitch and Star, and Camilla's technically there as well. So it's like them 3 kind of all bonding and whatnot. And obviously that doesn't necessarily stick. So yeah, I'm mainly intrigued by how this is going to develop moving forward. But I did love this moment, especially from Star, showing the growth.
Yeah, I think I have a few things to say about this. One, I think that this season, more than maybe like any other season in the new era, feels very old school. And for me, it has most to do with the fact that like everyone is not getting like there are straight up subdivided factions on this island, and it is so clear to see like an in group and an out group. And I feel like in recent Survivor, even if it's sort of a little bit of like a layer of like, not a full truth to what they're telling us, I feel like they want us to feel like every single person that's still in the game has a say in what's going on in the game and has like sway to the other side. And I feel like in this, some semblance of sway to the other side this season, like I feel like them showing us these 3 in this scene, it really feels like they are in their own separate game, world, universe from the other five. Like, genuinely. And I feel like this is something that feels a lot more normal in old school Survivor, where you see, you're like, oh, well, this is the in crowd that you want us to pay attention to, and this is the out crowd that you have to show us the scene forward and put them on screen. But at the end of the day, like, they're not moving and shaking as much. Like that's what I feel when I would see scenes like this sometimes, because truly, I remember I saw this scene and I was like, oh my God, that's right, Mitch is here.
They're here
You
too.
know, like, genuinely, I don't think that we saw Mitch before this. Also, like, I think like the first handful of scenes, like, we didn't see Star at all.
No, not at all.
It feels very weird sometimes when we go back to check in on these folks, because it's like, oh yeah, they're still in the game. And I feel like I did not have that for honestly a long time in this new era. However, what I also want to stack on with my comment here, the reason why I bring all this up is because, to your point, Matthew, you said that you can see Star being in the final 3.
Mhm.
So can I.
Mhm.
Because we are still seeing these moments where, to your point, Ollie, I think you even asked, you were like, why are we seeing this? Like, why
Mhm.
why would they show us this? And I feel like they don't want us to forget about Star. And even though she is not a main ingredient in the like moving and shaking of this show or this season, I think they don't want us to completely forget about her, because she is going to be in the final 3. That is what I think.
Kind of not, and I'm not comparing Star's game to this. I'm comparing it to edits from what we've previously seen. Similarly, my brain goes to like Ben, because it's like we kept seeing moments of Ben in 46, and it's kind of that, it was always that thing of let's not forget about Ben. So that's what I can agree with you on, and I can understand that now. Phil, no. Yes, Matthew? Yeah.
Well, I think, yeah. I mean, I think you definitely highlighted also what Phil was saying, where it's just like, here's Star,
Yeah.
here's Star, you know, and I love that. This is very, I think that this moment in particular also is like a look what Star has overcome type of moment in a way that will sort of play. I'm assuming that she's in that final 3. So like we'll see. I just have to say, I love Star. She's such an amazing person. I got to meet
Yes.
her at the Ron Clark event. I cannot say enough good things about her. She's awesome, and her family's incredible. So just wanted to throw that out there. So then, okay, Kyle really impressed me here. Kyle really impressed me here, and it's not my Wi-Fi, right?
No.
Okay,
I
okay.
still hear you.
Okay, cool. Kyle really impressed me here because of this whole conversation. So obviously, Joe is sort of telling Kyle, like, I'm having a problem with David, right? And I love Kyle took exactly what he needed to take during this conversation, and he played it exactly how he should have played it. I love when someone's like, I'm not saying we should do this right now. You know, like, I'm not saying we should target David, but he's really becoming a problem. When someone says that to you, that means we got to target David. Or, you know, like
Yeah.
loved it. Kyle really impressed me.
Yeah, it was this very, I'll talk about the gameplay in a minute. It's this very subtle way of going, look, here's my view on this. Like, I'm wary of David, but here are the reasons why, and let's have a human like element to it. So that's what kind of caught me. Like, we saw them have this game moment, yes, because I think they both bonded over the fact that David had said something to Kyle, David had said something to Joe. But then the way that Kyle was able to kind of then bring it to a human level where people could relate to him. And I'm saying that because I have seen some discourse of people saying that these people are unrelatable, and I think those people are messy. Game of Earth. And I'm glad to see that we saw this really nice moment from Kyle, because I thought it was a really lovely moment. And to tie it in with gameplay was really good for him as well.
Oh, okay, so you also started talking about what we learned about Kyle here.
Yes.
Yeah. I think there were two things happening here. There was getting more suspicion onto David, but then we also learned a lot about Kyle. And then we saw how that him sharing his more personal stuff, how that affected his relationship with Joe. I thought that was a really beautiful scene, a beautiful moment. And I'm rooting for Kyle. I'm rooting for Kyle to win this season. I just think he's awesome. I think he's playing a great game, and I want to see him win.
So what you're saying is Randy had a really good winner pick.
Was he? I don't want to see Kyle win, but I'm kidding. No, I do. I do. I really do. I really, really do. And honestly, good on Randy for identifying that. That's good.
I got very excited when I saw the last slide and somehow pressed a new tab and closed myself out.
Is that what happened? Okay.
Yes, it is. My laptop did not die. Everything was just fine. But yeah, this was just such a powerful scene. I thought this was like really, really interesting to learn this about Kyle, especially because the branding of Kyle would never have led me personally to believe that this was his story. I feel like he has gotten an edit that's been like, he seems like a very he just doesn't seem like someone that you would imagine to have experience with on the wrong side of the law. And it just, the way that he looks at it, talks about it, is able to contextualize it in the greater sense of his life and his story is like really, really awesome. And so it does not surprise me that a lot of people are, seem to really be, like gravitating towards him and rooting for him to win.
Mm-hmm.
And Ollie, I'm sure maybe you have some of Kyle's posts. I saw some for the tribe has posted, but he opened up more about this and what it meant for him to be able to share this story on this platform. So I think we'll. What?
Got no post on it.
Okay.
No idea what you're talking about.
All right. So then we have our immunity challenge. But before we talk about this immunity challenge, we're going to take a very quick break and we will be right back to discuss the winner.
What's up, guys? I'm Todd Herzog, the winner of Survivor China, and I am here with Survivor Now podcast, the best source for Survivor information, to show off what I do for a living. So I make custom Funko Pops. If you haven't seen or heard, you can check it out on Instagram at Todd's Pop Shop, or you can message me, toddspopshop@gmail.com, to order your own. And if you mention this podcast, you will get $10 off and a free torch. So it's pretty freaking awesome. I'm going to show you a few right now. We've got Troyzan here, Phil from The Amazing Race, JLP, host of Australian Survivor, and look, little Charlie. Anybody you could possibly imagine or want yourself playing an LRG or an ORG, or just with your loved one or family or pets or anything like that, shoot me a message. I'm happy to make it. You also have the chance to win a free custom pop if you sign up for Survivor Now Podcast Fantasy League. So it's pretty awesome. And it's fun. Like, who doesn't want to be a part of that? So yeah, hit me up, get your custom pops. It's great holiday gifts, great birthday gifts. We got a new season of Survivor right around the corner. I'm excited. I'm sure you're excited. Let's get this going.
Every time he says Phil, I'm always like, whoa. But then he's like, oh, it's Phil from The Amazing Race. And I'm like, oh, I love Phil from The Amazing Race, but I love this Phil even more.
If it helps, the same thing happens to me. Every single time I hear it, I go, what the heck? Did they say my name? They have my Funko Pop? And then it's like from The Amazing Race. And I go, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Right. And we have some more people in the chat. Roy, always good to see you. Zans, good to see you as well. I'm surprised people still watch after the Say boot. I do miss Say. I have to admit, I do miss Say, but I'm still rooting for people and still watching for people. Great challenge. Like this challenge a lot. I forget, was there something said specifically about that bungee connected? Was that because I'm sure it was a resistance bungee of some sort to make it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, I think the main thing was like because I think what I saw a couple of times was the fact that the whatever the thing was, you could go forward on it, which is what I think a couple of people tripped up on. But yeah, that bungee, I've never really seen that bungee like play a part in it, but this season it really did. So that was the interesting part for me.
Yeah, just kind of speed things up.
Can you explain what you're talking about with the bungee?
Oh yeah. Look at where they're holding the grip, and then connected to the ground is like this cord.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't sure if it was meant to be there for resistance or.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Why do I feel like I thought that was sort of like a lever, like a pulley sort of thing that like activates the challenge.
I think it was
Yeah.
that too.
Okay, because I thought that it was like holding it on its own, and then like at the beginning of the challenge, it's like, okay, now lift it up, ding, and the thing falls, and then it's like, okay, this challenge is on. Like I thought that was just like a starting mechanism.
Oh, someone
But,
please let me know. I forget. Did that happen when they lifted it up? Did it drop? Okay,
but,
someone let me know.
I'm not positive. So please.
Okay. No, I could.
Well, no, the mechanism holding it up is at the top. So like you've got a little clasp at the top just under the ball, and I know once you lift that up, that fell down, and then that's what.
Right, but I think that the thing that's attached to the floor, I thought that was like holding it in place before the actual person goes in there to take it off.
probably.
And yeah, like I thought that it was sort of like a starting lever. But
Is anything here? Is anyone here an engineer? We need to know.
yeah, right. Literally, seriously. What is the name of the challenge?
Says Phil knows what's going on. He is on another level. You guys just agree with him. Zans.
Do you know what? For the rest of the podcast, I'm disagreeing with Phil. Just to be
thank you, Zans, a man of real taste.
Brutal.
He understands. That was very kind.
Yeah,
me.
I agree with you, Phil. That was a really kind message. Anyway, so
keep saying, I'll read you.
So let's go with Joe's win. Good job, Joe. Good job, Joe.
Phil, are you happy with the winner?
Yeah. I'm happy with
then I'm not. I'm really sad Joe won. Really sorry, Joe won.
Yeah, I would say I'm happy with Joe winning. I mean, and look, I think this is like a larger conversation for maybe the end of the episode, but like Joe's our main character, right? Like Joe is our SpongeBob. Joe is our Timmy Turner. Joe is our main character. Like, and I think that this is something that, like, for a long time, you look at someone that's getting edited close to this. I don't think someone has really been edited like Joe truly in a long time. But I think that in the new era, you see the person that's edited most closely to Joe, and you go, "Oh, this person's going out in like the final four. This person's getting knocked out in fire, first boot of the finale, or something like that." For some reason, for Joe, it feels like it could actually be real. And I do think that you see a win like this, and like, yeah, there's not an answer to your question, Ollie. They make you happy for him here. Like, I feel like through the editing, they have like forced the audience to love Joe. You know? Am I wrong here, Matthew?
I'm very mad on Joe.
I think you're right, but it's not. I'm like I see what you're saying with the edit. I don't know if I'm getting that.
I mean, look, I think it's a perfect example. Is like with David calling Joe out and saying, "Hey, you've gone back on your word." Is it true that Joe has gone back on his word?
Oh, let's talk about this now.
I'm sure it is true to a certain extent, but the show is never going to want us to see that. I feel like the show wants us to really, really, really like Joe.
I don't know. We'll talk about it at the thing, but I don't know I don't think he went back on his word. That's the thing. I think it was just part of a discussion, but we'll see. Also, now Zans has me second guessing everything, but here we go.
Oh, I'm noticing. I'm noticing Zans. You set me up for failure now.
Yeah.
They don't want to agree anymore.
Amy said, I was super glad Joe won because I wanted Mitch to get a reward really bad. Right. And then he does choose Mitch and Shaheen. Who does he choose?
And Eva.
Yes.
And
Mitch,
Eva.
Shaheen, and then Eva.
Okay. To go on the reward. So that was fun. David's really upset. And yes, Ollie?
It was American holding him. It's okay. It's okay. But then what makes me laugh even more is you have Kyle, tough loss, so sorry. In his confessional, thank God David didn't win. It was just so funny to me. It was a shadiness that I really enjoyed. Sorry.
Thank you.
I just enjoyed the shade of it.
Yeah, it's a good shady moment. It's a good shady moment. Polar Knights, thank you. I think I've seen you put this comment before, but we appreciate that you are here and appreciate our beard lengths. We try hard. Anyway, so then what's this? Oh, okay. So Mary and David are doing work. They're doing work, right? It doesn't work.
No, well, this is where they're deciding on Mitch, and then Star kind of comes, I don't know, then
Where did
goes,
they get the idea
yeah.
that Camilla has an idol?
No, they think that because where the
Mhm.
so where Kyle and Camilla made people believe that Shaheen could have an idol, they now think, oh, Shaheen might have an idol and he might play it for Camilla.
Genius.
So we're gonna do this. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. It was for a completely different reason that they planted that idea into his head to frame Shaheen, and now it's gonna work against. Oh,
It's now gonna work for them. Yeah, it's hilarious. But yeah, this is where I find it really weird where Star has gone, right, I kind of want to do Shaheen, and then both of them go, no, I think the smartest play is Mitch. And from what we see, she kind of just goes along with it. So this is why I said earlier, I was kind of intrigued to see how this Mitch and Star dynamic is gonna interact moving forward because of like how willing Star was willing to go for Shaheen, go for Mitch, sorry.
Yeah, but I feel like we can't put like too much weight on that because
Yeah.
she doesn't have the options, and that's what's a shame. You know, like how Matthew, I see you hesitant to not.
I'm like,
allow-
dang it, I agree.
Dan really set me up for failure here. It's okay to agree. It's okay to agree, guys. No, but seriously, I feel like I don't know why that was so funny. I
You
would've
saw what I was
loved to
doing.
nod you. Yes, you started nodding, and then I saw you slow your nod and start to smile to yourself. Anyways, yeah, I feel like Star literally does not have that many feasible options here, and that's what sucks, right? Like we said all the time that the advent of Shot in the Dark, the reason why it really helps is because people have a backdoor option even when they shouldn't. And I think that in today's game, like, or at least, this far into the game, you have certain contestants like Star who feel pretty locked up in their position. And so when she's going up being like, oh, guys, I think it needs to be Cheyenne, she is pitching this idea with no army behind her.
Yeah.
But when she gets counter pitched, where it's like, oh, we should do Mitch, she understands that these two, at least once again, the thought, obviously she is not caught up to the fact that everyone's going to be voting David out this tribal council, but the thought is that these two have an army behind them. So she's not jumping to, a small dinghy that's going to be, wasted away in the water. She's jumping on a yacht. She's like, oh my God, this thing, like, there's substance here. There's actual, like, real substance to this plan. So I don't think that she's actually truly, in her own interests against Mitch. I think she has to agree to this plan here because there was no one else bringing her into anything.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's just anyone but me at this point. And Phil,
is that going to be like a new lore?
We're never going to get through this episode now.
Zan's started new lore.
Well, let's move on then.
Because even I'm smiling. Okay, anyways, moving on to this thing. Did we give Eva another advantage or what?
Did we? There's no name tag, so
There's no name tags this time, so they probably denied me.
I actually kind of forget what they talked about here, to be honest.
Well, this is where obviously I think they were starting to move on going for David, and it was actually Shaheen that really pitched it. And then this is where we see this montage of Shaheen planting the seeds, laying the groundwork to get people to go against David. And this is where I feel like, for me, Shaheen had a really interesting episode because I think we saw some really good points that he made. And I think we saw some really good stuff that he did. But then at the same time, we then saw almost how other people influenced him without maybe him realizing. So it was a really interesting one for me with Shaheen. I'm really enjoying him. That's what I want to say. But kind of looking at the edit side of things, I see that we're seeing that, Shaheen is doing work to have some control. But then I think there's also some things of he's maybe not realizing what maybe other people are doing. That's what I'm kind of noticing here.
And this plays into my idea that he is a finalist and maybe just people don't fully see all of the moves or, or he's gonna pitch himself in a like I predict he might pitch himself in a way that the jury doesn't necessarily see him as. It's gonna be interesting.
Or maybe someone else one-ups him.
Or
It's kind
someone
of like
else
that. Yeah, it's like like you said, if it is Kyle and Shaheen has this thing, and Kyle can go, well, actually, and then Shaheen tries and Kyle goes, well, actually.
Yeah, I do think that Shaheen and Kyle are fighting for the same spot. And I feel like they're shown in a similar spot where it's like they are the key strategists within, the former strong five, possibly former strong six, now more like a strong four, whatever. Anyways, amongst these like strong men that have decided to get, and Eva that have decided to get together, I feel like Shaheen and Kyle are sort of holding the strategic bag. And I think that like in this episode, it's like really put on the forefront where it's like, oh, Shaheen and Kyle are the movers and shakers of this group. And yeah, Shaheen is a debate professor. That's a really good call out.
Yeah.
Amy.
Let me show that.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I don't know. I think that I do think that they're fighting for the same spot. I personally would be very, very surprised if the both of them make it. I feel like one of them is going to make it, and the other is going to have to falter. There's not this island isn't big enough for the two of them.
For once, Matthew is going to disagree because he thinks that both of them are making it to the final.
I'm gonna lock it in. I think Kyle wins. I think Shaheen is runner up.
That's wild that you think they both get there.
I think so. Ha!
Phil, stop trying to make him agree to you.
I'm not moving a needle at all. I'm very surprised.
I actually love this development for us. This is good. Anyway,
this is great.
Dan started this whole thing and then dipped out. Oh, here he is.
Then it becomes okay. Wait. Zans, now we're gonna pay extra attention to you. There's kind of a sense that Shaheen is in a great position, but has maybe got too comfy in playing from the top.
Huh. I don't know about that. Only because we have seen that. I think that between Shaheen and Kyle, I think that Kyle has been seen more on the top. I think that we see Joe connect with Kyle more. I think that we see Shaheen scapegoated far more than Kyle in terms of like, okay, this lore is hilarious. This is like literally so funny.
No, he's got me agreeing with you again, though.
No, I know, but I just think that in one episode, Zans has like entered a whole like bit of lore in this podcast that I have never noticed prior. And anyways, but yeah, that's my sense. I do think that Kyle is actually a couple steps ahead of Shaheen in terms of the imaginary ladder, just because Shaheen is used as a scapegoat so many times. Shaheen has had several votes against him. Kyle has not. And in fact, the one time that someone tried to scapegoat Kyle was in the very beginning of the season, and it's the reason why Camilla and Charity ended up at odds. It's the reason why Charity was on the bottom of her tribe. The first person that she threw out was Kyle, and it was like, no, we're not going to throw out Kyle. And Shaheen, when Shaheen was scapegoated, it was like, oh yeah, we can fake Shaheen. That's fine,
I will say I do kind of slightly get where Zan's coming from though, because I think when you do look at what, like I said earlier, how you look at what Shaheen's doing, he does feel like he is in a really good position. And again, like I said, I don't think he notices the one-ups from Kyle. I don't think he notices maybe if someone has kind of manipulated him. So I think that's where I can kind of understand Zan's point. I do think that Shaheen thinks he is in a really good position. I think that Shaheen is very self-aware, but I do think that he maybe is getting a bit comfortable in the sense of he's not noticing what others are doing.
He was concerned when his name came up for a few votes.
Yeah.
This is true. Yeah.
But anyway, what this ends up becoming is I think it positions Joe and Eva as sort of like the middle. Like, okay, what are they going to do? Are they going to turn on David? Are they going to take a shot at the strong person alliance? Or are they going to go with Mitch? And so we go to tribal council with this big question in mind. And we got to say hello to the jury who have upgraded their bench to now accommodate two people.
I thought you were going to say they've upgraded their outfits.
No, no.
No.
That would be incorrect.
Love you guys. So sorry, it's a snuff.
Well, we just got off of Australian Survivor, so it's difficult. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, tribal council. David knocked on wood, which sounded like plastic.
It's probably
probably was.
wood.
I feel like there was a lot of passive aggressiveness. And I'm hoping I'm saying the term correctly. Because, well, apart from Camilla, who very brazenly went, David's annoying me. David's got bad jury management. And I was just like, this is so funny, Camilla. But then after it, what I found really interesting about the editing was they were always panning to David for his reactions. And I couldn't tell whether that was to see if David could really believe them or if it was us seeing David not feed into the mist and the BS. But I feel like the only other kind of standouts from the tribal were Camilla being sassy, and Star just being Star.
Star enjoying every moment of it.
Yeah. Which I found hilarious.
Yeah, and tribal council. So then, yeah.
I can't remember anything that was like truly crazy notable from this tribal outside of, to your point, Camilla being especially shady to David and Star having a little bit of fun with that interaction. Yeah. But I can't remember too much.
I love Star. Okay, and then we find out Mary is once again blindsided, and it turns out to be... Wait, oh, you know what? Before we go there, Amy says, I thought it was interesting that production placed Joe and Eva at opposite ends of the group. They wouldn't have been able to change their minds mid-tribal. That is a great point. Unless they did a live tribal thing. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That is a very good point, Amy.
But then we have to say goodbye to the milkman, David.
Oh,
David. I think David added a lot this season. And as much as I give him a little bit of flack for, not playing these last two sort of cycles the most optimally, I think that he was like a really, really fun casting choice. And it feels like he was like a breath of fresh air from the like hyper super fan, hyper, nerdy, studying the game archetype that we have become very, very accustomed to. I'll give him that. I think he was very, very entertaining, to be completely honest.
This is what he gets for talking crap about my humble trade.
Woof.
Matthew?
Now, with David, I see what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's... I'm trying not to say I feel bad, but I think the thing with David, plus I also met him in person. He's a very wonderful, wonderful guy. Plus I like that he curses at Ollie a lot. Anyway, so I had something really good to say. I like that he didn't he recognized that people would try to use him as a shield. And I appreciate that. Maybe it wasn't the best option, but I appreciate that he refused to fall into that thing, for better or for worse. I think it was refreshing. But at the same time, like I see what he was trying to do. And that's what makes me so irritated in the sense that I think that there are a lot of people still left in the game that would have benefited from working with him here, especially, or even last one. Of course, he wasn't able to convince them. And that is that's part of the game. But at the same time, I think a lot of people may look back at this and realize that it probably wasn't for the best.
And if it makes him feel any better, I was doing a food shop today and I'd seen chocolate milk. And for a very brief moment, I felt a little bit of sadness.
But it was brief.
It was very brief. But I did take a photo of the chocolate milk. So, David, this one's for you. I'm raising a metaphorical glass for you.
Aww. We all should have came here with I don't know how. I don't.
Well, no, because I don't like.
Yeah, that's fine. So Zan says he found his voice out there when he stood up and said, "No more using us as meat shields," like he was leading a movement. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
So goodbye, David. Thanks for playing. Now, Ollie, I am so curious to know what you have found on our next segment. The tribe has posted.
Nothing. No, I'm joking. For those of you that don't know, I scour through all of the social medias, Instagram, X, Blue Sky, even TikTok, to try and find out what is going on with the castaways and their reactions. So, first up, we have just a couple of funny ones. The first one actually was David, and it was from before the episode aired. And I actually touched upon it during our pre-show because this made me think that David had a chance of going because he had mentioned he's the heartbroken face of a man who knows he lost his number one, which was at that moment Kyle. So I was predicting on the pre-show that this was alluding to the fact that it was kind of going to be David and Kyle splitting up. The middle one is Mary. Someone was throwing a bit of shade, being like, if there's one thing, Mary's not going to know what's going on. And Mary replied with, wait, what's happening? And then we got a little pre-juror over there, little old Justin. Apparently on United Airlines, he had to play some dice games and can't fly in peace. Next up, we have this. This was Shaheen. And it was all to do with obviously waking up Joe. Please go watch the reel because literally the caption is deleted scene, Joe's POV. So it is literally Shaheen just over the camera. It's hilarious. And then obviously a little you up. To be fair, I will say there were two standouts this week in terms of social media content, and Shaheen was one of them this week. And then we were talking Kyle. Kyle had a really lovely moment. His is the middle one, just explaining the backstory more and what was going on. And then just a couple of the castmates. That was the first two I found. Eva and Stephanie just showing it and showing some love to Kyle and giving it more awareness, which I thought was a really, really nice moment. We give Kyle his props. I will say, if you haven't, go watch the reel because it's obviously informative, but it makes, in my opinion, it shows his relatability as a human being, even though some people might not think it is. That shade to whoever needs to hear it. Couple of things here. So we talk about the paranoia that Mary and David have. Mary, fun game. How about we all take a shot every time they say paranoid tonight?
They did say it a lot.
They would have been on the floor, getting over to the hospital, getting on a drip, because they would have had to have their stomach pumped. And I actually think this tweet from David is quite interesting. The definition of paranoia: unjustified suspicion and mistrust of other people or their actions. And like we've kind of said, I mean, I would hazard a guess to say that actually David was pretty justified in his suspicion and mistrust of other people because David kind of clocked him.
Yeah, it's funny when they were saying paranoid and calling him and Mary paranoid during the episode. I was like, that doesn't make sense. But yeah. I think it also sometimes it doesn't need to make sense if you're trying to place suspicion onto someone, right? Yes. No one really cares what word they're actually using.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's more so the fact because from what we've seen the last couple of weeks, the fans have been very hard on both Mary and David, to which I say stop being toxic. But actually, it is one of those, they were right in the sense of why they were paranoid, because they could see what was going on and kind of did perfectly clock it. So I wanted to include both of them because I do think whatever haters are going to say, Mary and David were kind of right. So... next slide. These are two things I just found funny. Shaheen, trust me, if I was caressing your head in the middle of the night, you'd be calm too. Just enjoyed it. And the ability to not blow up your own game in Survivor is a pretty impossible skill to have.
Oh, important.
Important, sorry, thank you. And 2 more tweets. Oh no, it's Camilla. It's Camilla. It's an Instagram post. If I send this to you, it means you're dead to me. I will say this was definitely one of my posts of the week. I saw it come up and I just howled with laughter. Because it's just the almost demonic smile in the fact that it's like dead of night. It's just well done. I really wish she would have posted a photo of her in the thing as
I
well.
think she did, but I think that was last episode.
I think it should have been that, and that should have been the caption. If I send this to you, you're dead to me. And then we have David. David had no regrets, and the other one was his Instagram post. I didn't post the photo because it is literally the same photo that's in the Insta story, so I was like, there's no point. But yes, this is David shouting everyone out, and I liked the thing where he said to the fans and haters who make this show what it is. I will forever be in your debt. Without you, I wouldn't have these memories, new friends, and everyone else that has come from it. Thank you. I feel like he was specifically talking to me. I feel like that was for me.
Could be. You're definitely co-signed in there. I didn't know he was getting into aviation. That's awesome, David.
Yes, he's working on becoming a pilot.
Good for him.
And I will say, go watch his exit interviews because he does talk about things. We hate his ex. That's all I have to say. But I'm going to move on to the polls. Because if you don't know, follow us on X at Survivor Now Pod, because we do weekly polls. We post them on there on Thursday, and then we close them just before the episode, and we reveal the results here. So the first one we had is, if you were in Eva's position, would you have just kept the extra vote, risked the extra vote for a safety without power, risked the safety without power for an idol?
Matthew?
Mine's a little convoluted, but I'll explain it. So I definitely would not risk a safety without power for an idol. I think, especially given the odds at that point, which is the 1 in 3, I don't know if I would do it, but it really depends on where I'm at in the game. Like if I was in the majority, I think I would go ahead and try to use the safety without power. But like if I could lose one person from my alliance and still be okay, I would risk it. But if I was on the minority, I think I would just keep that extra vote, because especially if I have like a group of people that may be willing to vote with me, just like we just don't have the numbers, that's a really great thing to have in your back pocket in order to flip the game to your advantage. Where I agree, I think Amy, you were the one who said it before. If you use a safety without power, or if you use an idol, there's a chance that one of your alliance members still goes home, and then you're still in the minority for the next tribal council. So I don't know, it just depends. Oh yeah, thanks, Amy.
Yeah, I definitely would never have gotten to the last option ever. I, like you, would either have just kept the extra vote or gotten the safety without power, but I really think that I probably would have gone for the safety without power. Just because it really feels like a get out of jail free card. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to use it. I feel like I could go about my tribals, with the thought that I am going to, be a part of something with my alliance and try to get, my push over on the other guys. But at the end of the day, if I feel like it's not happening, I just sort of have this like, hey, I'm out in leave tribal card. So I think that I would probably do one of the first two. If I have to pick one, I'd probably pick safety without power.
Okay. Well, I can reveal it was a very, very close vote. I think there was literally one vote in between it. But 48% said they would just keep the extra vote. 43% risk the extra vote for the safety without power.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah. I will say it for the entire time, it has very much been like this. So the next poll we have is, from your point of view, did Joe go back on his word last episode? Nope, yep, or can't really tell.
Phil, you go first this time.
Well, when you say did he go back on his word last episode, do you mean like the previous? Like, do you mean the episode that we're podcasting right now?
Yeah, so
Or
obviously with I was referring to where David was kind of calling Joe out, being like, "You've gone back
Hmm.
on your word," and Joe was like, "No, I didn't." So that's the context.
See, Ollie, you really need to get these questions approved by one of us before you post them.
I just think that I think that like he has
Oh, I did the wrong finger.
he has to have gone back on his word at some point in the game. I don't believe that he has made it this far in the game, not having told anyone a fib or keeping someone out of, like the truth of what he's planning to pull at tribal council. Now, what David was specifically referring to, I'm not positive, but I think that I think it's tough. I think it's tough. I'll say I can't really tell, to be honest. I think that really would be my best answer.
Zanz is on fire today, by the way. So,
I love Zan's the chat.
yeah.
So fun.
I think for this one, for me, I feel like going back on your word is saying you would do it and then either not telling the person that you're doing something different or telling them very last minute that you're doing something different. And I think what really happened was that they talked about putting the vote on Camilla. And at one point, maybe they all agreed. But I think when the discussion got opened up again, that they decided to go another way. Obviously, every single person voted for Chrissy. So it has to be the case that they had the discussion to say, you know what, we're probably just going to have to do this. So I think if that's really the case of how it all happened, and let's just say they're showing us everything as it did, and there was no other discussions, which there was, I'm going to say, no, he was truthful.
Well, I can confirm, again, this was actually really close. 46% said nope, he was truthful. 42% said
Wow.
yeah, I will say, for the majority of the poll, yeah, he went back on it, was leading. And it wasn't until today when we got the last few votes that nope, he was truthful, actually beat him in.
But I
won the
really
poll.
thought I can't really tell was going to be more than.
No, only 12%.
I am also surprised that I can't really tell didn't have more.
Yeah. See, Zan, sometimes Phil agrees with me. Anyway, so Amy, I also agree with Amy. An outright lie is a different thing. So I agree with that.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Very true. Okay. Sorry, this is my bad. You get rid of it.
Ollie. I'll okay.
So the final poll is:
yes.
You wake up in the middle of the night and find Shaheen cradling your face. What do you do? Now, before, Matthew, do you approve this one?
Yeah.
Good, because this was Matthew. Be spooked and scream. Listen to him intently. Tell him to go to sleep or go in for a kiss.
Kiss.
I'm just going to pull up Ian's message from earlier. Shaheen should have given Joe a spoon.
Yeah.
So we know where Ian goes. I think we know where Matthew goes as well. Phil?
Listen intently.
Listen intently. You're so nice. Do you want to know the results?
Yes.
Please.
Well, 83% said they'd be spooked and screamed, but 28% would go in for a kiss. So just so you know, Shaheen, if you're watching, 26% of the people that voted in this poll would have gone in for a kiss. So don't you worry. They would have been calm.
But this is from Joe's perspective. Right? You wake up in the middle of the night. What do you do? Shaheen is cradling your face.
Yeah.
You go in for the kiss.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. 28% of this poll, 28% of the people that voted in this poll, Shaheen, have a lovely time.
But in reality, I do wonder if I would freak out a little bit, because you're on an island in the pitch darkness, and then someone that you can't see right away touches your face.
To be fair, I think if I would be in the 11% of telling him to go to sleep, because I think if I'd actually managed to get to sleep on that island, I'd be looking at him going, I'm trying to sleep. Go away.
Amy, I'm glad you said this. Amy says, I don't remember any cradling. Amy, I think I tried saying caressing when I came up with this question, but you're right. I think he did hold his head up a little bit.
Yeah, he did. There was a little head holding.
Yeah.
But these are the polls. That was the tribe was posted.
Oh, thank you, Ollie. All right. Well, that does it for today's episode of Got Something For You. As always, you know our schedule, especially if you follow us here at Survivor Now Podcast. If you don't, please go ahead and subscribe. That'd be great. But on the day of the episodes on Wednesdays, there is a pre-show that Ollie hosts, and there is an after show to talk about the different perspectives on the episode, followed by Survivor Stock Watch on Thursdays. We don't have Australian Survivor coverage anymore, except we do. So just keep an eye out for those things as well, especially if you watched, I wanted to say Titans versus Rebels, but it was Brains versus Bronze 2. We may have some castaways to be talking to soon. Then we have Got Something For You on Saturdays and Survivor Social on Sundays. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Phil, is there anything you want to say that I can agree with?
You know, I've got a few things.
Okay.
Thank you to all of the folks in our chat. I think that's something that we can all easily agree with.
I
We are
agree with
always
that.
so thankful whenever we have people interacting in our chat. It is always so fun, and it makes it feel like you are just a part of the show with us. You know, you are like our fourth co-host. Do you agree to that, Matthew?
I totally agree. Could not agree anymore.
What they
Ollie?
say.
No.
On that note, thank you all so much. We are going to end this stream here, and we will see you next week to talk about episode 10 of Survivor 48.